Who can, without looking at the bulletin, tell me what the title of this sermon is? Get smart. Get smart. Looking at this crowd, I'm not sure that's a possibility. My mic's turned on, may not be turned on. Well, good, maybe they didn't hear that out the radio. Can you hear me now? No? Well, there we go. The title of this sermon, you might remember if you were a child of the 50s and the 60s, is taken from a TV series. It was popular 65 to 70. It was a spoof on the James Bond and spy craze. It starred Don Adams as that inept, bumbling spy by the name of Maxwell Smart. He was agent number 86, as opposed to 007, I guess. And he was constantly getting in trouble, constantly messing things up. And if it wasn't for Agent 99, played by Barbara Feldon, he never would have had the success he had. With her help and just plain dumb luck, he managed to bumble through and defeat the evil chaos agents. Anybody remember that show beside me? Good. Used to that. They made a movie out of it? Oh my goodness. This morning, what we're going to take a look at is how we can be smart or get smart from a biblical perspective, which really means to be wise, to have wisdom. That's going to be the focus. Be wise, be spiritually smart. And with what's going on in the world, especially among those who profess to be Christians, it is a difficult time to be a Christian. And I think we need, as Christians, to be better prepared in living out our lives in the world so that others will see and know Jesus Christ. Amen? And so we're going to take a look from an Old Testament biblical perspective on how we might do that. And again, the kind of wisdom that we are talking about is spiritual, not worldly. And the focus will be the text that was just read. But I would like to begin with another text, so I invite you. Oh, by the way, who's taking notes? Okay. Not very many. You know, I heard a preacher say, and I thought, this is great, I should use this. I'm supposed to be the messenger from God. Amen? I'm serious about it. And I'm supposed to be telling you what the Lord wants you to hear. Amen? And so if the Lord wants you to hear it, it might be a good idea for you to take notes about what's said. Amen? Amen. That wasn't a very satisfactory amen. So I know the preacher can sometimes get in the way of the Lord, but if you pray hard enough, it'll all turn out fine. All right? All right? Okay. I want to make sure you're with me. So I want you to open up your Pew Bible to page 292. I believe that's the right page. No. I want you to turn to 1 Kings chapter 3. I'll give you the correct page number. Yeah, it should be 292. It is 292. All right, it is that page. And this is a wonderful story. Here's the situation. King David has passed away, and his son Solomon has become the king of Israel. He's young. He feels that he doesn't know very much about how to be a king. And so he goes to Hebron and he sacrifices to the Lord. He worships God. That's another way to say what he did. And then, as all good preachers do after they preach, or they worship, they take a nap. Hopefully not during the rest of the service. You're a hard crowd, I'll tell you what. And so he takes a nap, and in verse 5, we learn that God appears to him in a dream and asks him this question. Now, I don't know about you, but I wish God would ask you this question. Ask what I should give you. Ask what I should give you. And in verse 9, Solomon responds. And it's an answer that really pleases God. And this is what he says in verse 9. Give your servant, therefore, an understanding mind to govern your people, able to discern, here's the kicker, between good and evil. Between good and evil. At verse 10 we learn that the Lord is very pleased with this. And at verse 12 he gives him what he asks for. It says he gave him a wise and discerning mind, in effect unlike any other. Solomon was the wisest man in the world. And at verse 13, and this is really neat, God gives him what he didn't ask for. Because his first request pleased God's heart, and that was incomparable riches and honor. Incomparable riches and honor. Are you still with me? Yes. What I want to talk now about is briefly a little bit about Proverbs. As you'll note, they are largely written by King Solomon. He apparently was so wise he collected over 3,000 Proverbs. Fortunately, he didn't put them all in this book, or it would be great big. But he did incorporate many of the things that he wanted us to know in our book of Proverbs. And this book is what's called part of the wisdom literature. The rest of the wisdom literature includes Ecclesiastes and Job. Hopefully when you read it, it will help you become wise. Now what Proverbs are comparisons. Situations between good and evil, just and unjust. They are written in such a way that they'll stick in our minds so our behavior will change. They'll stick in our minds so that our behavior will change. In other words, the aim of Proverbs is to help us acquire godly knowledge so that we will make right choices in the decisions and activities of daily life. This is especially important for you young people. Had I read Proverbs as a child, I might have made a lot fewer mistakes than I did make and gotten in a lot less trouble. Well, I want to say to you, young people, and I'll let you define what young is. Read these Proverbs. Read a chapter a day for 31 days. Because there happen to be 31 chapters. And you will be wiser than when you started. And if you not only read them, but you live them out in the world, two things will happen. Not only will you be wiser, but those who see how you behave in the world will come to want what you've got and to know what you know. Now, ultimate wisdom is Jesus Christ. Amen? And so the hope is that as you live out these principles of godly living in the world, others will see what you have in one. Are you still with me? Now the first focus is on verse 2 of our text. For learning about wisdom and instruction, for understanding the words of insight. That's why these Proverbs were written. Now there's a Hebrew word that's really kind of neat. It's hokmah. Say hokmah. And what it refers to is a special skill or ability that maybe sailors have in sailing, or administrators have in administrating, or counselors have when they counsel with people, that results from their experience, enabling them to be highly efficient. Are you still with me? Okay. Now, I'm not a big golf fan anymore, but can anybody tell me what tournament is going on this week? The U.S. Open, thank you very much. And for you at home in the radio audience, I have a big driver that Stanley Graham gave me. But because I play so poorly, I got this more than a year ago. I haven't had a chance to use it yet. I took golf lessons as a youngster in 6th or 7th grade, and I wasn't bad. But as I got older, I didn't seem to get any better, and finally I got to the point where I wasn't much good at all. So I don't play it very. You can say amen to that. All right. But in watching the U.S. Open, it is phenomenal how these professional golfers and amateurs hit the ball and hit it well. They make unbelievable shots. Now I am, and never have been, a big Tiger Woods fan. But on Friday, Tiger Woods, because the green was too hard, had his ball roll way down a hill. And when you had to look back up, he was looking between two trees that couldn't have been any closer, any further apart than, say, 10 yards. Way down a hill, he can't see the surface of the green. And he gets down there, and he hits a shot that just catches the front edge, the side edge of the green and rolls within 10 feet. The ball must have traveled 75 yards. Now, if I'd hit that shot, my ball would have hit one of the trees and bounced back into the fruit. But you see, Tiger Woods and the other professionals have golfing wisdom. Are you still with me? Yeah. They have the experience that makes them highly efficient. And so they become and are wonderful golfers. They can do things with a golf ball that you and I will never be able to do. So that's what the word chokmah means, and when it's applied to God, it's a spiritual kind of wisdom, and that's what we're talking about today. How we can have spiritual wisdom and live it out in the world. Now, wisdom is different than knowledge. Knowledge is the accumulation of a lot of facts. If you've got really good knowledge, you could go on Jeopardy and win a lot of money. Okay? I mean, some of the things those people know, I don't know how they have any idea where the correct answer is, but somehow they've got that knowledge. But knowledge is not worth a lot. It's not beneficial unless you incorporate it with wisdom. You've all known people who are extremely brilliant with a high IQ that don't have sense enough to come in out of the rain. So, if you're going to be anything, choose to be wise instead of intellectually brilliant. So what we have is we have a focus in these Proverbs on spiritual or biblical wisdom that is all about how to be skilled and godly living in the world.